All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 28, 2019 Westminster City Council meeting. It is currently our time for starting. In the back of the room is an American flag, and also in the front of the room. So at this time, I'd invite all of you to please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Parker, would you take the roll, please?
Atchison.
Here.
DeMott.
Here.
Mankey.
Here.
Seitz. Here. Scully.
Here.
Council, the first item on the agenda tonight is the consideration of the minutes of the preceding meeting. At this point, I will open up the floor for a motion for the January 17th meeting. Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the City Council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 14th, 2019, and the special meetings of January 17th, 2019, and January 24th, 2019, as presented.
Ms. Seitz.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. For our audience, the next couple of minutes, we're going to be recognizing some employees for their time of service. We have everything from a 20-year to 40 years of service tonight. So if you will bear with us a little bit, Ms. Seitz, would you start us with the 20s, please? While Ms. Seitz is coming forward, there are a couple of people who were not able to attend tonight, but they will get their recognition through the city manager's office, and hopefully at an opportunity, especially those who were in the 20 and 25, 30, and 40 years areas. So some of them were just not able to get here for the night.
Can I have Patrick Caldwell to please come down and bring any family members that you might have with you? Good to see you. So, Patrick Caldwell has been a city employee in the Community Development Department since 1998 as a planner too, and his current position of senior planner since 2011. In his role as a city planner, Patrick's focus has been residential development, review, assisting with many plans and plan analysis. In addition, he was liaison to the city's Historic Landmark Board. Patrick has degrees in architecture from Kansas State University and a master's in urban planning from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Prior to employment with the city, Patrick worked as a planner in South Dakota, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. In Colorado, he has worked in Douglas County, Colorado Springs, Aurora, and for the Colorado Office of Energy Conservation. Patrick enjoys spending time with his younger son, Hugh, and his wife, Mary Kay, now retired after a career in public health. His older son, Brian, is a student in Albany, New York. Patrick is active in his church, volunteers weekly as a reading buddy for middle school students at Denver Public School, writes an occasional short story, participates in a monthly book group focused on mystery writers, does infrequent art projects, spends time with Carl, the happy dog, and spends hours repairing his 1908 Denver bungalow. So, and I think I've seen you volunteer at the Pillar of Fire as well. Is that correct? Well, thank you for your years of service. Give you your certificate of appreciation and a pen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So can I do this?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is Norm Hobart here, and any family members? Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you. Did I pronounce your last name
Yeah.
correctly? Okay, wonderful. Norm Hobart was hired by the Westminster Police Department as a senior police officer on January 19th, 1999. He worked as a police officer for the Broomfield Police Department for 4 years before coming to Westminster. In 2003, Norm successfully passed all the rigid requirements to become a member of the WPD SWAT and successfully served on the inner perimeter team until November 2005. During that time, he was involved in 27 SWAT deployments, many that involved operational risks. While assigned to SWAT, Norm responded to a call out at one of our local hotels where an armed gunman held 2 hostages for several hours. The situation was taken under control before any harm could come to the hostages. Although the gunman fired rounds at the responding officers, the officers were able to subdue the suspect and take him into custody. Norm, along with other SWAT operators, received a Distinguished Service Award for their actions involving significant risks to themselves. Very impressive. On August 18th, 2008, Norm was promoted to the rank of sergeant and was promoted to police commander on February 9th, 2015. This training allows our officers to train and practice in scenario-based settings in order to best equip them to make sound and efficient decisions under stressful conditions. Norm has received 11 letters of commendation and 3 Teams in Action awards for his exemplary work. Thank you so much for your service. It is incredibly impressive. Norm and his wife chose to move to a remote area far outside the Denver metro landscape. They own property where they raise draft and miniature horses. He and his wife both enjoy driving carts and wagons pulled by their draft horses. When Norm isn't commuting back and forth to work, he spends the bulk of his time, money, and effort raising horses and tending to his property. I would like, it's my absolute pleasure to present you with this certificate of appreciation and your pin for 20 years of service to Westminster. Thank you.
Jay Sperry. Jay, will you bring your family up and visitors as well? Okay, we'll just pause here for a while. He even carries his own leash. This is doing better than mine. So tonight we're proud to present a 25-year pin. Now, there's a little something goes extra with these. For every year of service, the City of Westminster very happily gives somebody in the family a check of $100 per year. So for tonight, we're going to present Jay with a check for $2,500. Jay was hired as a firefighter in 1994. Promoted to fire paramedic in 1998, then promoted to EMS Corps Field Coordinator in 2005. In 2010, Jay moved to the position of fire paramedic and is currently at Station 6 on Medic 6. Jay is the treasurer of the Westminster Firefighters Fire Victims Benefit Fund, aka the Burn Fund, coordinates the ambulance licensing and has participated in the Santa program and sets up and maintains the inventory for EMS supplies. Jay has been married for 35 years, congratulations, and has 4 children. Enjoys spending time with his family, doing research, working out.
I know it doesn't show, but that's
It's okay. I love to work out too. It doesn't show.
Oh, okay. Well, we like to see that he brought some seizure dog. Huh?
Yep.
Who is this?
This is my seizure response dog.
Cody.
Thank you. All right. Jay, on behalf of the city, this is a nice check. Most of them go. But again, on behalf of the city, Jay, this is a check presented to you and also a certificate for 25 years of service. Tom O'Neill, please. Tom, you have family with you?
No, I didn't want them to know you were giving out checks.
Smartest conversation tonight. Tom is also receiving a 25-year pin and a plaque and a little bonus for tonight. Tom is a fire lieutenant on A shift at Station 2. Hired in 1994, he was promoted to fire engineer in 1998, and then promoted to fire lieutenant in 2008. Tom and Becky have been married for 22 years. They have a 19-year-old daughter, Lauren, and a 16-year-old son, Jake. Tom spends most of his time spectating his children's sporting events and vacations whenever possible. In the summer, the family enjoys time boating at Stanley Lake. Thank you for using it. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom O'Neill for 25 years of service to the church. I think there's one more. Bob Hose. I know you got family, Bob. How are you? Hi. Good. Bob, would you introduce your family?
This is my wife Vicki and my daughters Stephanie and Susie.
Thank you for letting us borrow your husband. And your dad. So Bob, first part is here. Yeah. Trying to be sneaky about it. Bob Hose started his career with Westminster as a firefighter in January of 1994. He was promoted to fire engineer on April 1996, fire lieutenant in June of 2003, fire captain in April of 8th, and fire marshal in June of 2012. Throughout his career, Bob has been very active with training and upgrading departmental equipment and procedures. He spent many years coordinating and administering the fire engineer promotional test for the fire department. Bob has been a member of the hazardous materials team since 1999. During his tenure, Bob has worked in each of the 6 fire stations of the city and fire administration. Bob earned the Executive Fire Officer designation for the National Fire Academy in 2016. This designation is bestowed on for completion of a 4-year master's level program for chief level fire officers. Bob is working on a Chief Fire Officer designation for the Center for Public Safety Excellence. He currently oversees the Fire Protection Bureau that involves all aspects of reducing community risk. Bob also serves as the accreditation manager for the fire department. This involves gaining internationally accredited status and then maintaining the continuous improvement process. He's also served as the lead for the Insurance Services Office survey that was conducted in 2017, which moved the city of Westminster from a Class 3 to a Class 1 status, the highest level of agency can attain. Bob's hobbies mostly involve around his family and their activities, but he also enjoys playing racquetball, reading war history, researching his ancestry, attending an occasional baseball game, tolerates running. He remains active in the community and volunteers each year with the fire department's Santa program. Bob, thank you very much for your time and service.
Paul Spellman come up? Bring any family you have with you? Well, I'm not giving money out. I'm not as cool as the mayor. Sorry. How you doing? So, Mr. Spellman began his employment as a firefighter with the City of Westminster in 1984. He promoted up through the ranks of fire paramedic, fire lieutenant, and fire captain. While in the shift training and shift staffing officer, Paul was promoted to the rank of battalion chief over 15 years ago and is currently battalion chief on A shift. As A shift battalion chief, Paul has been the incident commander on many significant calls, some of them including a bank robbery shooting on 120th and Federal, the Westin Hotel fire, the shooting at the Children's Dentistry, and the Westbury apartment fire. I'm not going to hang out with you. You sound dangerous. Paul has had many accomplishments through his career, including multiple teams in action and excellent action awards, and multiple life-saving recognition awards. Paul has served on countless committees and special teams like the Fire Investigation Team, Hazardous Material Team, Dive Rescue Team, the Issues Task Force leader during his tenure. Paul earned an associate's degree in fire science and a bachelor's degree in public safety administration, graduating with honors. Paul has 4 children and 7 grandchildren. He has always enjoyed sports and a variety of outside activities. In his spare time, he enjoys watching his grandchildren's sporting events, riding his motorcycle, and playing golf. Paul gives back to his community. He volunteered as a North Jefferson YMCA youth basketball, baseball, and football coach for over 10 years and continues to volunteer his time with Good Shepherd Food Bank. Paul has volunteered nearly 2 decades now for the fire department Santa Claus program. Thank you for your service very much. I have Roger Harshman, please join me if you have any family with you. How are you doing? You're sitting. Good. Would you like to introduce your guest?
My wife, Lisa.
Right. Welcome. So Roger was hired as a seasonal employee at Semper Water Treatment Plant in 1984, is currently a utilities water superintendent, operator in charge of Westminster's water distribution system, in the Public Works and Utility Department. He attended Front Range Community College and graduated with an associate's degree in business management. Roger has 5 children and has been married to Lisa for 19 years. Congratulations. He has grandchildren Mia, Jeter, Luke, Braylon, and Fletcher. Roger enjoys playing, coaching, and watching sports. His favorite athlete is John Elway. Enjoys attending Rockies spring training every year with his uncles, and he has a passion for providing mentorship to young people. Roger enjoys all of Colorado's craft beers and breweries. Me too. Roger and Lisa enjoy taking trips and exploring different wineries, but his favorite times are when all of his kids and grandkids are together. So thank you very much for your service. Here's your plaque and your pin.
Paul and your family, please. Welcome. Congratulations. Would you like to introduce your beautiful family?
My wife, Lisa, my son, Zach, daughter-in-law, Janae. My other son is sitting in the front row. And then these are my beautiful granddaughters, Harlow and Hadley.
It's a beautiful family. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Chief Hall is celebrating 40 years with our city, and I have the privilege of reading your bio. Doug Hall was hired as a firefighter in 1978. Throughout his 40-year career, Doug has promoted up through the ranks, ultimately being appointed fire chief in June 2011. During Doug's time as fire chief, he is most excited about 2 opportunities: creating enhanced community outreach opportunities with the citizens and the fire department, and positioning the fire department to become accredited through the Center for Public Safety Excellence, which is scheduled to happen this year. Doug is a member of the Westminster 710 Rotary Club. He currently serves as the president of the 8th State Missouri Valley Division of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. I want you to know that's mouthful. He is a graduate of Regis University and is an Executive Fire Officers Program graduate through the National Fire Academy in, I'm going to mess this up, in Pittsburgh, Maryland. Close enough. Doug enjoys spending time with family, especially his 2 granddaughters, Harlow and Hadley, and when the opportunity presents itself, he works diligently at perfecting his magnificent golf slice. Doug and Lisa have been married 35 years. They are proud parents of 3 great children, Zachary, Brittany, and Cameron, and 2 pugs, Baxter and Phoebe. Very nice. Paul, I am so privileged.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
It's
for
a
all
privilege.
your service. Appreciate it. Everybody needs to come in really close together.
Thank you.
To all of our recipients tonight, we do appreciate the service that you've had and what you've brought to the city, but we also want to thank the families of those who have also been here. All right, I want to ask you to pause for just a minute. Many of you may have been seeing some of the TV programs that we've had last day or two. Yesterday afternoon, 2 of our Denver police officers were wounded and are in the hospital today, still only in fair condition. Earlier this afternoon, 5 officers were caught in a gun battle in Houston. 2 of those were lifted by Flight for Life to a hospital. We do not know their condition, nor do we know the condition of the other 3. So I'd ask you for a moment to pause and think about all of our first responders, because in each of these incidents, not only did the police departments respond, but firefighters as well. So I'd ask you to pause for a minute and keep them in your mind. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is citizen communications, a period of up to 5 minutes that a citizen can come forward to the council here at the podium. You have up to 5 minutes to talk on any subject you wish, unless there is a public meeting scheduled for that agenda item. We have no public meetings scheduled for tonight, so you're open to any subject you want. Your timing will start when that green light comes on. You have 5 minutes. When you have 1 minute left, the yellow one comes on. When your time is up, the red one comes on. I have a list of people who have signed up to speak tonight, and I'll go through those first, and if we miss somebody, we'll catch them at the end. Lori Goldstein.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Tonight, I am speaking as the president of the North Park HOA, representing North Park residents, some who have joined me. If you want to wait. Thank you. The homeowners of North Park pride themselves in their neighborhood, but we have had some challenges of late. Several months ago, I was here telling you what was going on in our neighborhood with a particular house. Tonight, several of us are here to give you an update and to see if you have any updates for us. There continues to be what appears to be illicit behavior occurring in this house, and the neighbors notice that the police are still often there, frequently taking people away. One major difference is that there seems to be a new infant in this house, an innocent, helpless little baby. Now there's a new development in this situation. The person who owns the house around the corner from this house wants to make this house a sober living house. We have talked with our lawyers, and federal law, according to them, does not allow us to discriminate and supersedes any and all HOA rules. With that being said, it just so happens this house, like I said, is right around the corner from the house that I previously mentioned. So talk about temptation. So our question to you is this: are there any regulations that the city enforces around sober living houses? And can anyone just open one up? And are there any rules as to how this is done? Is there any follow-up on its supervision? So thank you so much for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Reed Dawson.
Evening. I appreciate you taking time to hear me. I'm a North Park resident as well. The issue with the North Park attorney and his opinion regarding maybe an ADA complication, I would look at it differently. This is a single-family home that is being rented by its owner to a commercial enterprise. I would think that would be against regs that you currently have with regard to zoning. It's not really an issue of telling a disabled person where they can and can't live. It's an issue of zoning for you as a city and determining if anybody can turn a neighborhood and an individual single-family house into a commercial enterprise. Whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, as long as money is being exchanged for that commercial enterprise, it is exactly what it is. So I would ask the city attorney to look up and determine if you have regulations that prevent commercial enterprises in a zoned single-family house. Otherwise, I may look at opening something in my house as well. If we're not going to have the rules and enforce the regulations, then there's really kind of no point in having the rules in the first place. On top of that, I would just ask that you evaluate this and consider what the city's obligation is to North Park. It is completely in contradiction to our covenant, and that covenant does list several things like I can't list them off the top of my head, but several entities were a nursing home and this kind of thing. You can't turn a house into several things. And it lists 6 or 7 items, but they're all in this same category. So whether you're disabled or not, I don't think that really has anything to do with it, because we're not discussing whether an individual can live in a home. We're discussing whether a home can be turned into a commercial enterprise. And that's what the bylaws in our neighborhood say you can't do. So I'm sure the city has a similar reg. So I would ask for the council to get back to North Park on whether or not that is a violation, and then what is the city's remedy for this situation. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Don Fittis.
Mayor, council, city manager, and staff, good evening. First, congratulations to Councilor Mankey for her appointment last go around. We wish you the very best, because your success is our success. The reason I'm addressing you this evening is that I want to support your decision not to hold a special election for the upcoming council openings. Even though we are on the same page, I believe reconfirming some of the reasons is well worth it. First, there's the cost, that money thing again. Estimated cost is $150,000 to $200,000, give or take. Had you found these dollars in the budget, I'm confident many departments, police, fire, parks and recs, libraries, etc., could all make a good case as to how they could spend that money more wisely and more effectively. They would be all correct. Second, human resources. To have a special election means you will have to divert human resources away from regular business. This would be inefficient use of valuable staff time. Third, there's an argument that the voice of the people is not being heard. In this last midterm election last November, in the state of Colorado, 61.9% of the voting eligible population voted statewide. This was second highest in the country and 10% higher than the national average. This is largely due to the fact that we have mail-in ballots, which I think is fantastic. Local elections do not normally get this type of response, especially special elections. For example, Pueblo just had a special election, and they had a 30% turnout. I would not define this as the voice of the people being heard. Fourth, fairness to the candidates. It is not that I do not feel that election cycles are already too long and too expensive. They are. But you would be asking two counselors to run twice in this calendar year, now and again in November. I believe this to be an unfair burden on the candidates. That being said, I have every bit of confidence that council will make an excellent choice this evening. The process has been open and fair. As in any employee search at the entry level or executive, the best normally rise to the top. You chose to interview 18 candidates. 2 are hopefully going to be thrilled to have been selected. Some will be disappointed. Some will be very disappointed. I say, do not despair. When one door closes, another one usually opens. To get to the final 2 selections, council has every right to vote their conscience. However, I feel that this is a perfect opportunity to find common ground, a perfect opportunity to build a bridge, a perfect opportunity to be completely nonpartisan, a perfect opportunity to demonstrate political courage. So, the challenge I'm putting forth to you this evening is to vote unanimously on these 2 candidates. I know that won't be easy, but I think you can find a way. Thank you for your time, thank you for your service, and thank you for caring.
Dan or Patty Toomey?
Good evening. I'm Dan Toomey. I'm a North Park resident. For the record, I'm also a recently retired firefighter and paramedic with the City of Aurora after 36 years, and I'd like to commend the Westminster guys who got an envelope, because I think when I hit 25, I got a pin delivered in the mail, so good for you guys. Anyway, I mention that because I live in direct contact with the house that's been a subject of conversation. Some people refer to it affectionately as a drug house. I'm beginning to think we should up the ante and refer to it as a murder house, because the time I've been there, I've certainly seen at least 3 known murderers come through that house. It's a clear safety issue to the neighborhood. And now, as was brought up, we're talking about putting a drug rehab house within a tennis ball's throw of the drug house. If you want to call it a sober living, it's a cleaner term. But I want to tell you this, as a firefighter, there are certain residences in a district that will guarantee our responses go up 3, 4, 5-fold. One would be a senior living home for obvious reasons, and the other would be a sober living house. in areas where I've worked, where we've had one, what would normally be a 10-run or 12-run a day response becomes a 16 or 17-day response directly related to those homes. It becomes, I think, your job to protect the citizens of that neighborhood, to protect the children, to do what you can within your scope to do that. This is a safety issue. I wasn't retired in the last 2 years. I feel almost obligated to retire because I don't feel comfortable leaving my wife alone in my own neighborhood, the neighborhood I've lived in for 35 years. I now have 2 sons from the fire department, one in Denver, one in Aurora, would tell you exactly the same thing in terms of my response, our response to those areas. So I don't think it's enough to simply say that, well, we can't, do anything. It says X, and X is it. When the public safety's at issue, that can't be enough for a response. Thank you.
Dick Keel.
Hi, thank you so much for taking time to listen to us tonight. I'm also from North Park. My wife Karen and I moved into North Park in 1991 and have loved it ever since. We know families that have left North Park and actually come back because it is such a great place to raise a family. We raised our child there. Now we're seeing new families come in with little kids. And I just hope that they can have the same experience that we have. And I know all of you are aware of the nefarious house that is in the neighborhood and the various things that are going on there. The police are very well aware of it. It seems to me to put a halfway house next to that, or even within walking distance, just doesn't make sense. But most importantly, for us, it just doesn't make sense for our neighborhood, because we really love it, and we want it to be a great place to raise children. So if there's anything that you can do to help us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening.
Leonard Cumley.
Hey, my name's Leonard Cumley. I'm also a North Park resident. And first of all, thank you for listening to us tonight. I think you're getting a sense that these are very important issues to our residents. And many of us have come with just very short notice. I just learned about this issue being potentially discussed tonight. I learned about it Saturday. So we made it a priority to be here. We've lived in North Park since March of 1988. I think our quality of life has been very good. We enjoy it. We've got great neighbors. We have concerns. We have concerns about quality of life, safety. Some of the other presenters have been giving you specific examples of factual information. For me, it's a common sense thing. Common sense also dictates if we can prevent things, it's much easier to take care of it then than to try to deal with it later, like the drug house that we're dealing with right now. So just appeal to you for your support to do what you can to help us maintain a good quality of life as members of North Park in Westminster. So thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who has any comments they'd like to bring forward at this time that did not sign up? All right, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we have the information you left us here when you signed up. Staff, either through the city clerk's office, city manager's office, or the city attorney's office, will be back in touch with you in regard to these comments that you provided to us tonight, and we will set up some time to have a further conversation with that group. Next item on the agenda is a report of city officials. Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a couple of brief comments. We have a number of people in the room tonight that went through an arduous process over the course of the last couple of months to participate in the interviews and selection of these very, very important council seats. I wanted to point out, I think it's terrific you had a chance to see the employee awards tonight, because I can't tell you the character and quality of work of the folks that you saw come up here tonight. Their life stories you heard just a little bit about. We're also proud to work with them. You have a number of department heads here this evening who came here specifically to recognize these folks. Doug Hall was one of those folks, and I see he's probably taken off with his family to take him to dinner, but I just want the department heads that are here tonight to stand up. And I just want to explain to all of you, please. I just want to explain to all of you, these are your folks that run the city. And, they're here every Monday night for the most part. Sometimes they're on the agenda, sometimes they're not. We're just really proud of this group and the people that they represent, and the stories of the folks that come into the city. It's highly unusual to have as many people in a city as we do that come up for these 25, 35, 40-year recognitions. It's remarkable. We have an individual in the room who has 46 years who was up here about a year ago. So I just wanted to point that out. And I want to also say to all of you that participated in this process, I want you to know how grateful we are as a staff to have a city that would have 60 or so people so interested in these jobs that you'd participate in this process. And I can tell you that it's difficult to come down to two, I'm sure, for our counselors here. And I know that they're working really hard to make the right decision here. But I can tell you one thing, on behalf of the council and the staff, we remain available to all of you, whether you get appointed to council or not, to help you find a way to participate in local government, to be involved in our boards and commissions, to volunteer, to have a voice, to continue to want to be involved at any level that is. So thank you for your interest and participation tonight. And the last thing is I want to turn to Deputy Andrews concerning our events of the day.
Thank you, Don. I'd actually like to ask our Director of Public Works and Utilities to come up. He's going to give us a briefing on the snow events today and tell us a little bit about that as part of our manager's comments.
Max Kirschbaum, I'm Public Works and Utilities. Last evening, our weather service gave us a forecast of a trace to 1 inch of snow sometime overnight. It didn't work out that way, but at about 4:30 this morning, it was clear that it was going to be more than a trace to an inch. So at 4:50, the snow crew from Public Works and Utilities was called out. At about that same time, the snow crew from Parks, Rec, and Libraries was also called out to address city facilities, parking lots, trails, etc., for the properties and parking lots that they have responsibility for. Before the rush hour even started, it was clear that this was going to be worse than normal. At many of our usual spots, there were a lot of cars that were stuck and unable to move. I'm sure that made their day miserable, and it also made it difficult for snowplows to be able to do their work, because they were, thanks to the help of the police department and officers on scene as well as dispatchers, we were physically moving cars one at a time to try to get plows through. By about 11 o'clock this morning, it was also clear that we were going to exceed the city's policy for beginning snow removal in residential streets when the snow accumulation exceeds 8 inches. So by that time, we'd already made at least one pass with plows, in some areas multiple passes, and applied the appropriate amount of salt on the streets that we designate as primary or secondary streets. So we began using not only the larger plow trucks, but about a dozen 1 ton and below trucks that are equipped with plows to get into the residential streets. By about 5 p.m. this evening, we had hit nearly all of the residential streets throughout the city. It's difficult to say that we absolutely hit every street in the residential streets. The intent is to get at least one pathway through the street, and we're kind of in the process of confirming that we did hit, or if we did miss any of those streets, and sometimes that does happen, to be able to hit those this evening. So a second crew is on this evening and throughout the evening to ensure we've got that mop-up done, and that the an appropriate amount of salt is applied as the temperatures are going to dip into single digits tonight, so it'll be a better situation for tomorrow morning's commute. That's all I have.
Jody, anything else? All right, moving on. City Council, anybody have any comments that they'd like to bring forward? Ms. Scully?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I kind of have a long list, so please bear with me. First of all, I'd like to thank all the residents of North Park that came forward tonight. I think it takes a lot of courage as a neighborhood to come forward to the City Council and ask for help. And I appreciate you reaching out. And I know that the city will be responsive and get back to you and find a way to help you through this. And my prayers and thoughts go to all of you who are dealing with a situation like that and where you live that can't be comfortable. I'd also like to specifically give a shout out to Don Vitas. Thank you. I appreciate you acknowledging that this was not an easy process for us, and these were not easy decisions, and I appreciate your support, so thank you. Max, I thought the plows did a great job today. We all knew we got taken by surprise on this. I was shocked when I suddenly had to make a quick drive to a high school because I couldn't let my daughter drive in this. So I was very impressed. Even though I know you guys were a little bit behind, I thought you guys did a great job. And I was proud to say that my street was one of the ones that got plowed, so thank you. I want to also extend a thank you, and whether you are appointed tonight or not, a congratulations to everyone who came forward and put their names out in the open, became vulnerable, and took a risk. It is not easy to step up to serve, and it's not easy to volunteer for that. And I really appreciate it when anybody takes that courage, that step. I know it takes a lot, so thank you. And congratulations to all the people who were recognized for their great service of our city. I am always blown away with how many people in our city are recognized for 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and just 46 years of service to this great city. And I have lived here for 27 of those years, so I have been the recipient of your great service, and I thank you.
So I fear I'm going to be incredibly redundant. I do want to first off thank all of our employees for their years of service here to the city. It is incredibly impressive that we enjoy the type of longevity that we have with our employees here, and I think our city benefits from it. We have an incredibly dedicated staff that really is committed to providing the highest quality of service to our residents, and I think exhibit the spirit values of the city every single day. So thank you to all of them, and it was a special pleasure to give our chief, well, not that I got to give it, but that we got to give the chief his 40-year service award tonight. I also want to say thank you to every single person who applied for the council vacancy. This is not going to be an easy decision for this council. I was blown away by the leadership, by the talent, by the dedication, and by the passion of the applicants. Many communicated their love for this city in a way that was truly inspirational. Obviously, we can only select two. And you do not need to be a city councilor to be a city leader. And I think you all prove that. I have been in your shoes where I sat waiting to find out if I was going to be appointed. And I know it's nerve-wracking. So please, if it is you, congratulations. If it is not you, have faith. Know that you were valued and that this was not an easy task.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to also thank all the candidates who came forward. There were over 50 people who put in applications through the 3 different positions that we're looking to seat. And I too have been through that process, and I know how nerve-wracking that is. And I only had to compete against 14 people, one of them who took the seat I'm now sitting next to up here. So I know what that process is like, and it's a difficult process. So it's very something you should be proud of. Those of you 17 that are still in the process, good luck to each of you tonight. But don't be discouraged if you don't make it. Find somewhere to serve. You obviously all have servant hearts. There are plenty of places that you can do your city well, your state well, your country well, and I hope that you find that place that fits your service heart. Other thing that I want to mention is I am the one who really pushed for special election, and I believe that would have been a good thing in a small cost for democracy. However, I do appreciate dialogue and opposing views. It's part of the fabric of our republic and democracy. So I think that we've had great dialogue through the process. I thank my colleagues for us very much working through disagreements and different things in the 3 different seats. I think that at the end of it, we've come up with the best process that we could over the short last month and a half that we've been working on this. And with that, we have to move forward, and we're going to move forward with faith and hope that we're making the best decision for the city, because I know everybody up here wants that for the city. And with that, considering that we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day last Monday, which obviously was a great American and somebody who did a lot for humanity, I leave you with this quote: "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope."
Ms. Mankey.
I'm pretty much going to reiterate what the other counselors said, but thank you for all the years of service. Being the new person, I got to meet all the heads of the city staff, and I've been blown away by their dedication, and for so many of them, just the years that they've been here, giving all their time and really their heart to the city. So thank you. And also thank you to the applicants for the vacant position. Obviously, I know very well how you all feel out there, and just also thank you for everyone wanting to give so much to our city. I really, really find it just inspirational. So good luck to everyone. Thanks.
Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. This is a group of routine matters acted on by a single motion. These have been reviewed by the council prior to the meeting. No one has asked for any item on the consent agenda to be removed. Therefore, we will take one motion for all items under item 8. Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the City Council adopt the consent agenda, items 8A through 8D.
Ms. Seitz?
Second.
Okay. Council, this is a vote with your lights, so if you will use your buttons, please. Okay. The motion carries on a 5-0 vote. First item on the agenda is move on item 10A for an intergovernmental agreement with the North Area Fire Agencies. Mr. DeMott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to enter into intergovernmental agreement with the North Area Fire Agencies to authorize the City of Westminster Fire Department to exchange fire, emergency medical services, hazardous material, and specialized rescue services with the North Area Fire Agencies as stipulated in the presented automatic aid intergovernmental agreement.
Ms. Scully.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing none, this is also a vote with your buttons, if you would, please. This motion also carries on a 5-0 vote. Next item up is item 10B. Ms. Seitz.
Thank you. I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will best be served by authorizing the city manager to execute a 1-year sole source contract with Orange Circle Consulting LLC to provide professional marketing and communication outreach services related to the water and sewer utility in an amount not to exceed $95,000 for 2019.
Ms. Scully.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? None, this is also a vote with your light, if you would, please. And this motion also carries on a 5-0 vote. You ready to go home? Oh, okay. All right, so let me explain the part of you, if you were not here during the last time we did this. First, I will ask for a voice or a motion. We will do this twice. Motion will be dealing with the first vacancy. Once that motion is received, a motion and a second, This calls for a roll call vote. The city clerk will call each member of the council in order. That person will designate the person that they wish to move forward, and we will follow the same process we did last month. Ms. Parker, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will go ahead and just review the procedure for our audience and those present and those listening. The roll call vote as laid out in the council rules and regulations, Part 7, Section 24, dictates that vacant positions on the city council shall be appointed by council from applicants who have completed the appropriate application form and interview process. Tonight we have 17 applicants who are under consideration. Appointments shall be made by roll call vote. A majority vote is necessary to finalize an appointment. If no single applicant obtains a majority vote after the first roll call, all person receiving no votes and the person receiving the smallest number of votes will be removed from consideration. This process will be repeated after each vote until a majority vote is received by one applicant. After 3 roll call votes with no one person appointed, the council will consider all candidates again and begin the process of elimination of candidate names after every 3 votes.
Okay, any question by council? If not, Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to select a person to fill the vacancy in the office of City Councilor, term to expire in November of 2019, which was created by the January 3rd, 2019 resignation of Shannon Bird following her election to the office of Colorado State Representative on November 6, 2018.
Mr. DeMont.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Members of council, we will start the roll call process. Ms. Parker, go ahead.
Atchison.
Michelle Haney.
DeMott.
Michael Deedon.
Mankey.
Doug Kenny.
Seitz.
Carol Campbell.
Scully.
Michelle Haney.
Round 1 count is 2 votes for Michelle Haney, 1 vote for Michael Deedon, 1 vote for Doug Kenny, and 1 vote for Carol Campbell. Since all of the single votes are tied at 1, those 3 will remain on the next round of voting.
Go ahead.
DeMott.
Michael Deedon.
Mankey.
Doug Kenny.
Seitz.
Doug Kenny.
Scully.
Michelle Haney.
Atchison.
Michelle Haney.
So the vote total after round 2 is 2 for Haney, 2 for Kenny, and 1 for Deedon. So Deedon will drop off of the ballot, and Michelle Haney and Doug Kenny will remain for round 3.
Go ahead, Ms. Parker.
Mankey.
Doug Kenny.
Seitz.
Doug Kenny.
Scully.
Michelle Haney.
Atchison.
Michelle Haney.
DeMott.
Michelle Haney.
After the third round of voting, there are a majority of votes for Michelle Haney. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Haney. Right. We'll move on to the next item. Item A2. Mr. DeMott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to select a person to fill the vacancy of the office of City Councilor, term to expire in November of 2021, which was created by the January 8th, 2019, the resignation of Emma Pinter following her election to the office of Adams County Commissioner.
Ms. Scully.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This will start the roll call vote. Ms. Parker.
Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Seitz.
John Vols.
Scully.
John Vols.
Atchison.
John Vols.
DeMott.
Rich Seymour.
Mankey.
Carol Campbell.
Okay, after the first round of voting, there is a majority for John Vols, who received 3 votes, 1 vote for Rich Seymour, and 1 vote for Carol Campbell. John Vols has been selected as City Councilor. Congratulations.
So, Ms. Haney, where are you at? There you are. Would you bring yourself and any of your family up? Judge Soares? She's getting ready. We're doing the roping.
Yes, I go by Michelle. Thank you very much. Haney, good to meet you. I'm up with you. Okay. I know how to see if this works. Can you all hear me okay? Is this picking me up at all? A little bit. All right. Before we swear you in, I'm going to shake your hand all night long. Okay. We'll do it. Before I do the swearing in, I know that everyone up here has said congratulations for the people that have gone after this. And I know all of them said it. It can't be said enough. It is so exciting and exhilarating to see people that go after goals and ambitions. This is going in and out. And that's, you just got to be so proud of yourself for doing that. I'm going to take this off. Yeah, that going in and out is odd. Is it working? Can everyone hear me? For those of you who were here last time, we had similar technical issues. Try as we might. All right, so while I still have everyone's attention, I'm just going to divert for one moment because this is the first time that we now know who this collective body is going to be, which is really exciting. And so I want to talk about the power of a collective body, and I'm going to use something that's familiar in my world, and that is the concept of a jury. Jury can be defined as a body of citizens sworn to give a true verdict according to the evidence presented in a court of law. A jury is considered to be so vital because despite failings of individual jurors, juries get it right most of the time. That's encouraging, isn't it? It may be that one or two of the jurors don't believe the witness or the defendant, but that all 12 will be wrong is very unlikely. A jury reflects the values and standards of the general public. This right to a trial by jury was ratified into our Constitution in 1791. What other process has stood the test of time for over 230 years? Nothing. I can't think of one. There will be moments when you all, as a collective body, disagree. But as one council member pointed out tonight, you absolutely need those moments of disagreement because that's how you truly unpack the issue and get to the right answer. As long as you disagree respectfully and remember your common goal of service for the good of the community, you as a collective body will get it right. Welcome and good luck on your journey. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Can I borrow you for a moment? Thanks. You didn't know you were going to be up here, did you?
No, I didn't.
Can I have you stand?
Yes.
I need my right hand. I, Michelle Haney,
I, Michelle Haney,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Colorado
and of the state of Colorado
and the ordinances and city charter
and the ordinances and city charter
of the city of Westminster,
of the city of Westminster,
and faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of city councilor
of city councilor
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Sign on the dotted line.
You may get sworn in, but you got to sign your life away.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Mr. Haney. I'm sorry, Mr. Haney. Thank you very much. Mr. Voles, if you would, please.
Alrighty. You don't have to stand up here as long. Oh, I should have asked. Do you have any family members here with you, Miss Haney? Don't even apologize. We're your new family. Do you have family members with you? Okay. Are they coming up?
He didn't want to, but I'm making it.
Oh, yeah. That's.
He doesn't like to be in front.
And you know what great job you get?
No. Hold the mic.
That was it. Would you like to introduce him?
This is T.C. Hazen, my partner.
It's nice to meet you.
20 years. Pleasure.
Tiffany Source, nice to meet you. How?
Attorney, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Me too.
Are you still paying off your law debt too? Don't answer that. No. How do you say your last name?
Bowles.
Bowles. Mine's Soros.
Good to meet you.
It's good to meet you. Welcome. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I, John Bowles,
I, John Bowles,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
that I will support the constitutions of the United States
and of the state of Colorado
and of the state of Colorado
and the ordinances and city charter
and the ordinances and city charter
of the city of Westminster,
of the city of Westminster,
and faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of city councilor
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. You did a great job.
I need to sign something?
Now, once our two new counselors have gotten all the paperwork done, we're going to take a short pause. But unfortunately, neither of the two new ones are allowed to leave. I'm sorry, but your meeting is still going on. We'll take a short pause, and then if the new counselors would all come back up to the front when we're done, along with our current council members, we've got a little bit of business to do up here.
Dude.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. How are you? See you. Good job. Yeah. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good job.
Me too.
Don, how are you? Sure, we'll go. No problem. Anyway, I think you've been very appreciative. I'm looking forward to you running.
Just in case anybody missed it, the council is adjourned.
Anytime you need. Congratulations. Welcome. Well, congratulations to you too. Thank you. Very fantastic. It's a huge commitment.